even in the All-Star game, our players are getting hit by pitches. Welcome on into the PHNX D-Backs podcast, coming to you live from beautiful, lovely downtown Phoenix here at PHNX HQ2. I am your host, Damon Farrell, Damon Dog. I got my guy, Kevin Thomas, pressing buttons for me, making me look good. And of course, I am not Derek Montilla, but he should be back, I think, tomorrow. So do not fret. We will have the crew back tomorrow. I think we will have Jesse Friedman on tomorrow no matter what. So we should have the original cast, if you will, on a Thursday edition at noon on the PHNX D-Backs show. But today we are doing something special. We are doing the biggest what-ifs in D-Backs franchise history, and it's going to be a lot of fun in doing so. Some good, some bad, some kind of indifferent, and some way more open-ended. But before we do, Kevin, I do just want to talk about real quick what we witnessed last night at the MLB All-Star Game. Of course, Ketel Marte starts things off by getting a couple RBI in that first inning there off Tariq Skubal. You have Corbin Carroll hit a no-doubt moonshot home run representing the Arizona Diamondbacks later in the game. And then, of course, Eugenio Suarez gets his opportunity, and what happens? Oh, that's right. We're still hitting Arizona Diamondbacks players with pitches. We're still hitting people in the hands. Gino then, he goes on to finish the game, makes a really, really nice defensive play, barehanded grab, and throw him out from the third base spot after charging in. So yeah, I mean, it was a good showing from your Arizona Diamondbacks players in last night's game. Kevin, did you watch the game at all? If you did, how did you feel about the swing off format?
Before we get to the swing off format, Damon, I have to get my piece off about the Gino Suarez thing, because I was like I said, I wasn't too tapped in with the All-Star actual game itself, but I was tapped in enough to know that Gino Suarez got hit by a pitch, and that's just what happens when you let a Chicago White Sox participate in the All-Star game, just because they're gonna ruin everything, like they've ruined baseball in that part of Chicago. But my point with all this is, though, is that even I know I'm not like the most diehard of Diamondbacks, diehards, but even I got a little hit of PTSD watching that. It's like we can't even watch an exhibition game and not be worried about losing one of our important impact players from the starting nine. It's a ridiculous thing, and at least Jazz Chisholm got to hit 3 home runs in an exhibition home run derby because, that was his big moment.
It does feel as though, like, why are we even throwing inside in an MLB All-Star game? I know that every once in a while there's nothing you can do and that pitches are just going to get away from you, but it feels like we're pushing the envelope a little bit too much if we're really trying to go inside on an MLB All-Star. It's like, come on, guys. What are we doing here?
But the real question is, was the Chicago White Sox pitcher trying to go inside, or are they just
that bad?
Yeah.
I mean, he's an All-Star, man. He's an All-Star.
Can't take it from him. Certainly can't.
No, you absolutely cannot. But altogether, I thought it was a good All-Star game. I did think that the swing-off format was interesting. The National League gets out to a 6-0 lead in large part because the Arizona Diamondbacks players that were accounted for 50% of that RBI production. But then they move into a swing-off format, something new we have not seen from baseball yet. Instead of going to extra innings and making it take longer than it needs to, they just have 3 guys go out there, take a few pitches, and see if they can put them over the fence. Kyle Schwarber goes 3 for 3 and hits 3 bombs, ends up winning MVP of the entire All-Star game because of his performance in the swing-off, which is pretty gnarly. Kevin, what did you think about that new swing-off? Did you like it?
Yes, I did. I will actually answer your question now. I did like the swing-off format. I thought it succeeded in getting people to talk about the All-Star game. We talked about it in preview of the All-Star game that people just don't care about what happens, I guess last night in this case. But what happens after the home run derby, people just kind of tune out. I saw more All-Star Game tweets than I think I maybe ever have seen on my timeline last night. And it was because of that thrilling style of swing off. It was that, football, soccer shootout style, USA hockey style in a way. So, yeah, I think that it's a great add to the All-Star Game experience. And I feel like maybe I'm wrong on this, but I feel like you don't often get ties in these kind of situations. Maybe you do, and I'm misremembering it, but it feels like a nice special occasion kind of thing. I know, he was at Big 12 Media Day and you and I talked about it. I saw Icy Vert talk about how on Twitter he heard it was going to a swing off and sprinted downstairs. And this is and that I think is an encapsulation of the success of the swing off, right? It gets people talking, it gets people interested, and it shoots the game maybe a little bit of adrenaline that it needs when most people aren't talking about it on a day to day.
Yeah, of course, Jonathan Aranda in the swing off was kind of the reason that the American League didn't come out on top. But I guess that makes us All-Star Game champions, Kevin, because we are the National League here on this podcast, on the PHNX D-backs show. And shout out the National League, shout out the swing off, shout out baseball for doing something actually decently cool, for once, and making it an event, making it something that we all wanted to see. But that being said, I was a little bit come on, dude. Gino can't even get an invite to the swing off. Gino, he has 31 home runs at the All-Star break, right? He was not invited to the home run derby despite saying that he would love to be participating in it if he was offered the opportunity. And then now we need someone to put it over the fence, and he doesn't even get an opportunity to get swings off. It feels like that's the absolute first guy we should have asked to be in the swing off, considering he didn't get his invite to the home run derby. Maybe it had something to do with him getting hit in the hand, but I was a little bit dismayed by not being able to watch Gino Suarez get involved in that swing off there.
How about that throw that he made, though?
Yeah.
Coming across the infield, barehanded it, picking
Beautiful
it up,
throw.
throwing it to first. Beautiful throw. All-star Gino Suarez. And I feel like, I think you're right. My inclination was that as soon as he got hit by that pitch, his night in terms of the fun stuff is over. You know what I mean? He's just doing the routine kind of stuff.
The fact that they left him in, though, tells me that that he wasn't that hurt, hopefully. But I see a lot of D-backs fans making jokes as well about oh no, we'll just have to put him on the 15-day IL and he can't be traded in the meantime. And then the trade deadline will pass. And then he'll still be on the Diamondbacks. Wouldn't that just be so awful and the worst thing ever? Oh, my God. But I do feel like, the Diamondbacks, I've heard some things recently that the Diamondbacks are, in fact, interested in keeping Eugenio Suarez in Arizona. And he's already said that he would like to stay. I know we talked about his comments that he made about how he could help the Yankees win a World Series potentially when he was asked about that question. But I do think that Gino wants to stay in Arizona, and I think the Diamondbacks are going to try to do everything in their power to hold on until the last moment where it makes just too much sense to sell off because the team is just dead and gone. But it does feel like that's going to be a situation to monitor. It feels like the Merrill Kelly thing that I've been talking about feels like it has a little bit of legs to it. Hey, Merrill, you want to go to a contender and then maybe come back to Arizona in the offseason? I could definitely see that thing happening, but maybe, some of the other guys, Josh Naylor, Zach Gallen, maybe a little bit more likely to be traded than those other two. We will find out in the coming weeks, and we're going to be talking about trade deadline stuff all the way up until those coming weeks. But moving forward, Kevin, that was our little All-Star Game recap from last night. Good event. MLB All-Star Weekend, I'd say, is maybe the ultimate All-Star Weekend in sports, in American sports in particular. I do think that you have more people watch and care about the MLB festivities than you do for a lot of the NBA All-Star Game, the dunk contest, 3-point contest. People watch that. The All-Star Game itself, awful, disgusting. No one wants to watch it. Horrific. I did think that the one year that they did the Giannis LeBron draft, though, where they were doing it by quarter and then they had to come back, I thought that was kind of fun, but they went away from that a little bit more so. The Pro Bowl is the worst. Everyone knows that. And then I will say this year, the Four Nations kind of took over sports, right? And Four Nations is, if they're going to continue to do that and nix the All-Star Game, Four Nations is by far and away the ultimate All-Star Game event. But in terms of true All-Star Games, I think MLB takes the cake.
Yeah, no, I think so too. In terms of the overall weekend or week, in this case, experience, the NBA, I think is more of I don't know. It's weird, right? You had the 3-point contest and the dunk contest, and I think on their face, a lot of people care about those things. But then you get to the All-Star game, and you do have to get kind of gimmicky with it to, one, get people interested in continuing to watch, but also to get the players interested in watching, which is such a weird concept in that league. But yeah, I think you're right. The MLB All-Star game, weekend is one of the most premier in the major sports for certain.
Well, that is our All-Star Game recap. We're going to talk more about the biggest what-ifs in Arizona Diamondbacks history, and we're going to do that after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. But first, let's talk about Pure Edibles. Pure Edibles was founded in the great state of Arizona, and they are not covered in a bunch of sugar like a lot of their other competitors. They offer unique cannabinoids such as CBN, CBG, CBD, and marijuana-derived THC. That give you all sorts of benefits such as sleep support, maybe a little bit of energy uplift, you name it, man. Pure Edibles has you covered. All types of different types of flavors and even candies. They got the hard candies, the gummies, the chews, the kicks, if you will, which are their versions of Starbursts. And as we've told you before, there's over 130 dispensaries statewide that offer Pure Edibles products. 171 dispensaries, according to my earlier ChatGPT research of amount of dispensaries in Arizona. If you ain't at one of those 130, you're going to one of those other 41. Maybe it's time to find yourself a new dispensary because they don't have the premier gummies in the state of Arizona that they are selling. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries statewide that offer Pure Edibles products. Another company that we love to talk about on this show that pairs hand in hand with Pure Edibles is Circle K, because they have the ultimate snack and drink combos that you can find anywhere. And it is, of course, America's thirst stop, as we all know. If you haven't signed up for the Inner Circle Rewards program yet, you are just someone that doesn't like to save money, which I think makes you a crazy person, right? Because it's so easy to download. You get enrolled. You put your phone number in and you're done. Pick a password, pick a username. It is so simple. Then every time that you sign up or fill up at the gas tank, all you have to do is plug in that phone number and the savings are right there in front of you. You save 3 cents off per gallon every time you fill up, 5 cents off per gallon when you become a premium member. But don't forget about the 25 cents off per gallon you save the first 5 times that you fill up at the tank after enrolling in the Inner Circle Rewards program. So join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Kevin, we all know in the state of Arizona that what ifs are aplenty, right? There's not a, this is not a situation where, we are drowning in success, right? Lots of teams that, certainly have made it close, have not gotten the job done. And we all remember the pain and agony of it. The Arizona Diamondbacks are no different. There's also some positive ones on here, also some more open-ended ones, but we're going to talk about the 10 greatest what-ifs in Arizona Diamondbacks history, rolling off with some honorable mentions to start, things that maybe I couldn't find enough information on, but have heard rumors of in the past. There's been a lot of stuff about whether or not Ronald Acuna may have been very close to signing with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I believe that the rumor is that the Diamondbacks were about $10,000 short of signing Ronald Acuna. What could have been if Ronald Acuna was signed by the Arizona Diamondbacks? Obviously, out of a country that maybe is not. It's a little bit hit and miss, right? When you're bringing on a lot of these international prospects. He's a Venezuelan player. Diamondbacks have had a big Venezuelan influence in their organization. Gerardo Parra, Miguel Montero, Gino Suarez, Eduardo Rodriguez, you name them, man. A lot of Venezuelan players have suited up in Arizona. This could have been another one, and it ultimately didn't happen. One that I remembered from back in my childhood that scarred me and stuck with me for life, but I couldn't find the damn Sports Illustrated article on it because apparently that's not a thing that we do where we upload vault articles to the internet from 2012. But when Mike Trout was really bumping on the scene in 2012 in his rookie season for the Los Angeles Angels, he was the talk of the town, right? Everybody was talking about Mike Trout. Should he win MVP as a rookie? Sports Illustrated wrote an article on him about what a great player he has come to be and how he got into an Angels uniform. I vividly remember reading that article and the head Diamondback scout walking into the MLB draft war room for the Arizona Diamondbacks the year that Mike Trout was drafted in 2009, walking into the room and saying essentially to the other scouts in the room, Mike Trout is the best athlete in this draft. We should draft him here in the first round. The Diamondbacks go on to draft A.J. Pollock, I believe, in that first round. Great player, good draft pick, all-star, but not Mike Trout. Certainly not Mike Trout, and you never know what could change with this organization. I think that both of those could have been made if I potentially could have found more information on those topics, but ultimately, a little bit scarce in regards to how close the Diamondbacks ultimately were to getting those prospects. But we're going to start off here on a little bit more of a lighter note. Something funny here, Kevin, for our 10th what if. What if Bank One Ballpark was never actually named Bank One Ballpark? This one is a little bit more silly. It's a little bit less drastic as to, what the ultimate outcome could have been in said circumstance. But we all know that, the Diamondbacks through Bank One Ballpark, B-O-B, Bob, if you will, the Diamondbacks fans started calling Bank One Ballpark the Bob. We're going to pop down to Bob and watch a game. Out of that stems our beloved mascot, Baxter, who happens to be a bobcat, which is, an animal that is very native to the state of Arizona, very popular here in the state of Arizona. He's related to Wilbur Wildcat. I don't know if you guys knew that at home, but the beloved mascot Baxter would have never been made a bobcat, most likely, if Bank One Ballpark was never the sponsor, meaning what kind of mascot could we have gotten? Kevin, could we have gotten a snake mascot?
I mean, I'm learning a lot right now based on that. It's kind of blowing my mind. First of all, the $10,000 being the difference between Acuna and the Diamondbacks. Second of all, the Bob is one of the most electric nicknames for an arena I've ever heard in my life. It's so it's such a rudimentary, basic name. No offense if your name is Bob in the chat, but being we're going down to the Bob this weekend, catching some D-backs games. We're it's gonna be have a couple 999 challenges thrown in there along the season, and you're cooking with gas. This is a good one, Damon. This is a good one to start off the list.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting one, but it's not necessarily one that, changes the outlook of the entire organization as a whole. And that's where we'll get into number 9 here on our list. What if Dansby Swanson was never traded to the Atlanta Braves? Dansby Swanson, we all remember, was the number 1 overall pick for the Arizona Diamondbacks back in the day. Before even suiting up for the Diamondbacks, I believe in a minor league game, Dansby Swanson was finding a new home in his, I believe, home state of Georgia. I'm pretty sure Dansby Swanson is a native of Georgia, so I'm sure that he was pretty pumped up about the idea of moving to his hometown team, the team that he probably grew up a fan of, right? He's from Kennesaw, Georgia, but Dansby Swanson has become a great player. He's a 2-time All-Star. He was a World Series champion in 2021, and he never, ever played for the team that drafted him, despite drafting him number 1 overall, which is pretty crazy, right? You never really see an opportunity for a team to not play a guy who they drafted number 1 overall. Usually you allow that guy to develop in your organization. You want to get a look at him, right? But not Dave Stewart, not Tony La Russa. They go ahead, they trade Dansby Swanson for the newly vindicated Shelby Miller, but at the time, Shelby Miller was an absolute bum for this franchise. Shelby Miller sported a 5-18 record in his 3 seasons with the Diamondbacks, Kevin, a 6.35 ERA that haunted Diamondbacks fans forever. At the end of the day, I mentioned Dansby Swanson. He was an all-star in 2022. He was an all-star in 2023. The Arizona Diamondbacks go on to play in the World Series in 2023. They barely lose the World Series in 2023. Could all-star Dansby Swanson have been the jumpstart that this franchise needed to become a 2-time World Series champion? You never know, man. I think that you could make the argument that things changed for the Braves in 2021 as well, and that just the future of the sport in general is just drastically different if Dansby Swanson had never gotten traded to the Atlanta Braves, because you never know what happens in 2021. You never know what happens in 2023. But we do know that Dansby Swanson never suited up for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Moving on, what if Ryan Braun was suspended in the 2011 postseason where the Arizona Diamondbacks played the Brewers in the NLDS. The Diamondbacks, of course, had a great team that season. One of the best teams in franchise history, no doubt. The 2011 Arizona Diamondbacks lost 3-2 to the Milwaukee Brewers which was, of course, it was a 5-game series, of course, in the NLDS, as we all know. But the Diamondbacks lost 3-2 in that series. I went to Game 3 of that series, Kevin. I believe it was Game 3. I'm checking here to make sure it was the game that Paul Goldschmidt hit a grand slam in that game. Yes, he did. Game 3, the Diamondbacks were down 2-0. Paul Goldschmidt was a rookie, Kevin. He went into the game. He hit a grand slam. The Diamondbacks blew them out in Game 3. They then won Game 4 as well, forcing it to a Game 5 where they would end up losing to the Milwaukee Brewers by a score of 3-2 as Nyjer Morgan hit a walk-off single to win it. The problem with this series, Kevin, was Ryan Braun was absolutely unbelievable.
I wonder why he was unbelievable. That you think there could have been any reason as to why he was so good?
Ryan Braun was popped for steroids directly prior to this playoff run. They did a test on him. They found that his sample had some performance enhancing drugs in it, and then Ryan Braun denied. He went on to ruin the reputation of a Major League Baseball. I think it's an independent person, actually. I don't know if they work for MLB in particular, but basically just called the guy a liar, said that he diluted the sample, that he was going after Ryan Braun. And what do we find out in the long term? Ryan Braun actually was on performance enhancing drugs. Ryan Braun ultimately catches a 50-game suspension for having an abnormally high level of testosterone in his sample. In his banned substances sample that was taken during his MVP season in 2011. Another aspect of this, Ryan Braun wouldn't have won that MVP most likely if he was not doing steroids, right? Matt Kemp had an unbelievable season. I think that was the year Matt Kemp went 40-40, meaning 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Not that I'm rooting for Los Angeles Dodgers to receive major accolades, but if you're Matt Kemp, you have to feel that you got a little bit screwed over in that circumstance because you had an MVP caliber season, and Ryan Braun snatches that from you by doing performance enhancing drugs and it kind of leading to him having this unbelievable couple of seasons here. He was immediately requested for a second test after the Brewers had been eliminated in that World Series, or in that playoffs, I should say, that postseason, but. It was kind of a situation where Ryan Braun just denied and they allowed him to play because they were investigating it, and then he does he goes off in this series. Kevin, he goes 9 for 18 in the 5-game series, 500 batting average in those 5 games, 571 on base percentage, 889 slug, 1460 OPS. Hit 1 home run, had 4 RBI, 4 doubles. I mean, the guy was unbelievable in that playoff series. He was the best player on the entire field between both teams. I think it's fair to say the Diamondbacks win that series if Ryan Braun was not allowed to play. What say you, Kevin?
I agree. And I think, you know how I feel about John Jones. You know how I feel about people who cheat the sport. You know how I feel about people who take shortcuts and maybe steal valor from those that work every day just as hard as that person should to get the same accomplishments. And who knows? I'm sure Matt Kemp is feeling pretty fine. Like you said, 40-40 that year. You forgot an important 40 dates with Rihanna that year as well. Matt Kemp was winning on and off the field. And Ryan Braun was, winning on the field, cheating off the field, and getting caught after the fact. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. This is a great what if. What if the sports rules were upheld and Ryan Braun was banned from this series of baseball?
Ryan Braun texted the Journal, sent to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel when the accusations came out. "This is all BS. I am completely innocent." So that when someone says that they're completely guilty. But
wait, what are you supposed to say?
the information was not supposed to be public until after, but it was actually leaked. for a little bit more details, the test result was collected on October 1st, just before game 1 of the NLDS against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Braun immediately requested a second test, and it didn't become public knowledge until December 11th. So after the Diamondbacks had been eliminated, after the World Series champion had already been crowned. But Major League Baseball knew about the sample, the positive sample, before he played the Diamondbacks, and he still got to play in the series, and he still got to eliminate the D-backs. Kevin, I feel like you are almost even more like we can talk about this even deeper because you happen to be a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and who ended up winning the World Series championship in 2011, the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm ready to just get up here and say that that's the D-backs World Series, bro. If Ryan Braun isn't allowed to play, we win that NLDS. We go on to win the whole freaking shebang.
I was so with you on the Ryan Braun slander. I was with you on the steroid slander, the cheating of the game, the all that. I think we're getting a little too over our skis here with this extrapolation of this what if. You never know coming up against a juggernaut like the St. Louis Cardinals what could happen. But it would have been a hell of a series, and we did get robbed of that series because of Ryan Braun cheating.
We could be you on this Diamondbacks podcast could either be flexing or we could be kind of going after you pretty often. It would have been a fun dynamic having played the Cardinals in a playoff series. I don't think that that's ever happened in, at least to my knowledge, since I've been a little bit older. Maybe it happened in the
double check
the 02-01 era of things, but I don't remember a Cardinals playoff series happening. But lots of all-time Cardinals on that team, by the way, Kevin. Probably some of your favorite players of all time: Lance Berkman, Chris Carpenter, D-backs legend Daniel Descalso, David Freese, of course, who went on to win World Series MVP, Matt Holliday, D-backs legend Edwin Jackson, D-backs legend John Jay, Kyle Loesch, who you brought up the other day in the office, Lance Lynn, Yachty, of course, Albert Pujols, of course. Fun team, man. Fun team. But Diamondbacks totally beat that team. Everyone knows it. If they if Ryan Braun is not popped for, or is popped for steroids and not allowed to play in the 2011 NLDS. Moving on to number 7.
Real quick, the Cardinals have a 5-3 record against the Diamondbacks in the postseason. All time, according to StatMuse, they played looks like 5 times, a 5-game series in 2001 and a 3-game set.
Who won that one?
In 2002.
Who won that one?
It looks like the results say inconclusive. That's weird. That they wouldn't have a result for that series.
We lost in 2002, right?
Yeah.
To the Cardinals, and then in 2001, obviously the Diamondbacks win the whole thing, so must have won that one. But definitely more world or postseason history with the St. Louis Cardinals than I expected. So I'm sure, as this is a taped episode, that I am being called an idiot by plenty of people in the comments right now. But sorry, guys, we figured it out already. So you're talking to past Damon, who is ignorant, because future Damon and present Damon knows that the Diamondbacks and Cardinals played multiple playoff series against each other.
Type into the void if you must.
The next one here, Kevin, is one of the most interesting and open-ended ones I think you could find on the entire list. I thought about putting what if Ketel Marte was never a part of the Gene Segura trade to the Seattle Mariners in here, because Ketel Marte is going to probably end up the greatest hitter in Arizona Diamondbacks history. But I decided to go even deeper than that, Kevin. And I found out and reminded myself, do you guys remember in 2012, 1 year after that 2011 season, Justin Upton was on the trading block. The Seattle Mariners attempted to trade for Justin Upton. They had some of the best pitching prospects in all of baseball within their ranks of their minor league system at the time. Danny Holtzen, as well as Taijuan Walker, who we all know and remember. Taijuan Walker was a part of that Ketel Marte trade that happened a couple years in the future, Kevin. I want you to walk with me here for a second, because this one can get a little bit nuts. If Justin Upton didn't have a no-trade clause, what if Justin Upton didn't have a no-trade clause? What if Justin Upton didn't decline his trade to the Seattle Mariners? Well, the Diamondbacks likely would have gotten Taijuan Walker back in that deal for Justin Upton. He was one of the highest pitching prospects in all of baseball. Upton was a top 5 MVP candidate in the National League in 2011 and had a big price tag at that point. And then that price tag got a little bit smaller after we traded him to the Braves the year after. But Kevin, I think it's safe to assume, considering the Diamondbacks ended up trading for Taijuan Walker, that he was the ultimate target in that deal for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Wouldn't you say that that is probably a safe assumption to make?
Yeah, and I really appreciate you going the deep dive here, because I didn't really remember that part about the no trade clause and the implication of if he didn't have that no trade clause, Ketel Marte.
But I need you to just answer me. Just give me a yes or no real quick.
Yeah,
you think Taijuan Walker is probably the trade target, correct? If considering they traded for him 3 years in the future, right? And they clearly coveted him. He was definitely in the talks. I think that it's safe to assume that Taijuan Walker was the trade target for the Arizona Diamondbacks when trading Justin Upton in that deal. And if that move had been made, Kevin, do the Diamondbacks then try to trade for Taijuan Walker in the future? No, they don't, because he's already on the team. If Taijuan Walker is already on the team, then there is no Gene Segura for Taijuan Walker and Ketel Marte trade, where Ketel Marte was the fourth biggest piece. Mitch Haniger also in the deal for the Mariners. Ketel Marte was the throw-in of that deal. He was probably the fourth most coveted player of that trade. That trade never goes down if Taijuan Walker was traded already from the Justin Upton side of things. I think we're looking at, if Justin Upton doesn't deny his trade to the Mariners, Ketel Marte is never an Arizona Diamondback.
Yeah, and to be clear, I think you're right about all of that. And it's kind of crazy to think, right? It's like in the draft kind of situation, kind of almost like you outlined earlier with Trout in a way, where you covet a player early, you're not able to get that player at a certain point in time, but that does not mean that your interest in that player ever wanes or your faith in their potential ever wanes, unless obviously they don't play up to that potential. So yeah, I think if they're looking for Taijuan Walker in that first iteration of the trade, and then Justin Upton says, I'm good, I think you go back again later and you get Ketel Marte out of it, and now we're all happy people celebrating in the Marte parte.
And at the time, it probably would have been seen as the Mariners package was more valuable than that Braves package that netted you Martin Prado, Randall Delgado, and Nick Ahmed, who ended up actually being the best player for the team out of that deal, despite also being one of the more throw-in kind of parts of that trade. So I think that the butterfly effect of that is insane. The 2023 run probably never happens because Ketel Marte's not on the team. It's just a crazy rundown of events, but we're going to round out our bottom 5, top 10 what ifs here, Kevin, with number 6. What if Max Scherzer was never traded to the Detroit Tigers from the Arizona Diamondbacks? Max Scherzer has gone on to be, one of, if not the pitcher of a generation here in Major League Baseball. Looking at his stats for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Scherzer was really not that great at ages 23 and 24 for the D-backs. He wasn't bad either, but went 0-4 his first year. Had a 3.05 ERA, so it wasn't really his fault. Only pitched in 16 games, started 7 of them. The next year for the Arizona Diamondbacks, he started 30 games for the team, went 9-11, had a 4.12 ERA. Wasn't really the level of pitcher that we, would ultimately come to know in Detroit, but it wasn't until 3 seasons in Detroit that he became a staple of the MLB All-Star Game, making the next 7 All-Star games in a row in Detroit, and then missing an All-Star game with the Washington Nationals because he was ultimately traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers that year. So, it was because he got hurt that season. So, and then made it the year after that. So we're talking about a 3-time Cy Young Award winner. We're talking about a first ballot Hall of Famer. We're talking about a generational pitcher in Max Scherzer for an organization that has struggled to find pitchers that work out and are consistent and are good for this team forever. It's pretty much been the issue with the Diamondbacks from, the World Series run on. We've joked about the Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling curse. We were given 2 generational players, and then we were never really allowed to have consistent and good pitching from that point forward until the rest of time. The Diamondbacks did net some decent pieces out of this deal, so I don't want to make it seem like they got nothing. Ian Kennedy was a great pitcher for this team. He finished top 5 in Cy Young voting in 2011, was a big part of that NLDS roster that we talked about earlier in this show. he was the ace of that team, and he deserves a lot of credit for having a great career in Arizona. Edwin Jackson was also a part of the deal. He had a no-hitter here for the Diamondbacks. I believe it was the first no-hitter in franchise history. Or actually, no, Randy Johnson had a perfect game. But Edwin Jackson he's one of the only, no-hitters in Diamondbacks franchise history. Wasn't necessarily a great pitcher. He was kind of an average pitcher, but, you did get net something out of the deal. There were some concerns regarding, his tenure with the Diamondbacks. People thought that his violent throwing motion was going to lead to him potentially being an injury-prone type of player. And there was a lot of concerns about his long-term health. Max Scherzer then went ahead and just, put that to bed during his long storied career, mostly in Detroit, a little bit in Washington as well, where he ended up winning a World Series championship. And then in Detroit, he played in, I believe, one World Series at least, maybe two. He was actually a two-time World Series champion, so I apologize to Max Scherzer.
You had better apologize to Parkway Central graduate.
That's right. He was on the
Max
Rangers.
Scherzer.
He was on the Rangers team that beat us in 2023. Maybe that doesn't happen. Who knows? Isn't this fun? What we're doing here? Isn't this exercise therapeutic? But that is our bottom 5, top 10 what ifs here in Arizona Diamondbacks history. Starting off with, what if Bank One Ballpark was never made Bank One Ballpark? Baxter wouldn't have been the ultimate mascot of the Arizona Diamondbacks. What if Dansby Swanson was not traded to the Atlanta Braves for Shelby Miller? What does that change across baseball? 2021 World Series for the Braves, 2023 World Series runner-up for the D-backs. Do either of those things change? Ryan Braun, what if he was not allowed to play baseball despite a positive sample of expanded testosterone before the 2011 NLDS, where he went on to be the MVP of that series and by far and away the best player on the field? Do the Diamondbacks then go further in that playoff run? Do they maybe go on another World Series run? You never know. Number 7, what if Justin Upton didn't deny his trade to the Seattle Mariners? Would that have ultimately led to the Diamondbacks not landing Ketel Marte in a future trade for Taijuan Walker? Could he have been the package for that Justin Upton deal in 2012? And then rounding it out here with our last one, what if Max Scherzer was not traded to the Detroit Tigers? What if he was an Arizona Diamondback and the Diamondbacks had invested in him, trusted in him, and allowed him to develop within their organization? Could we have had an all-time starting pitcher in our ranks? That is our bottom 5 here on the top 10 what ifs. We're going to dive into the top 5 what ifs here on the PHNX D-backs show right after the break here. But first, let's talk about Desert Financial Credit Union, Valley staple, and of course, big sports fans here in the Valley. If you want a card that is customized for ASU, that is customized for NAU, that is customized for the Arizona Cardinals, Desert Financial Credit Union is going to be the place to go. Not only that, but they are going to let you do a trip around the Monopoly board and give you a free $200 just for signing up for a checking account. That's right, guys. Like I said, it's just like Monopoly when you pass go and they give you $200. Except Desert Financial is doing that in real life. It is special stuff. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. They made Derek Montilla, host of this fine program's, life better when they helped him get into his home that he still lives in today, that his family lives in today. Absolutely special stuff. Derek credits DFCU with giving him that opportunity. Says he would have never gotten the chance to own that home if it wasn't for DFCU. So when you open a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Another fine company that we want to talk about here on this program is Bet365. Guys, I was doing some betting on Bet365 last night. I accidentally, may have put in way too much money on Caitlin Clark to maybe score 17 or more points last night, and she ended up with a disaster class. But that's fine because there's over 780,000 events that Bet365 offers for me to bet on each year. I'm going to be betting on UFC 318 this weekend on the Bet365 card, and it's going to be so much fun. They pioneered live in-game betting, so if after those fights start, I'm still going to be able to get my bets in. And today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Like I said, I was talking about some of the bets that I bet on last night in the last few days. Just absolutely love to gamble with our friends at Bet365. One of the best interfaces in all of sports gambling as well, which is so important. We all know that when a sports gambling app is glitching on you constantly, that it is infuriating and it makes you want to delete it forever. Bet365, I promise you guys, it is not going to have any of that. It is quick, it is easy to use, and the interface is beautiful. So get in on their early payout offers that they offer. MLB, NHL, NBA, you name it, guys. They have early payout offers. And breaking news for Bet365 customers. New customers can now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use promo code PHNX365. Deposit $10 and place a bet of $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, so it doesn't matter what the outcome of that bet is, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Kevin, we now are going to get into our top 5 biggest what ifs in Arizona Diamondbacks history. And boy, do I have some ones that are going to leave you crying, emotional, maybe fired up. You never know, man. But what if the Arizona Diamondbacks were moved to from the NL West in 2001 to the AL West? There was a contraction, a league-wide contraction, Kevin. I don't know. Have you ever heard of this?
Yes, from Derek, I have heard of this. I have.
Interesting enough, there is a league-wide contraction plan that was put into place by baseball in 2001. They didn't give the Players Union a chance to vote on it. Major League Baseball was going to disband 2 franchises across the league. They talked about a few franchises that they were ultimately going to potentially disband, and they landed on the Minnesota Twins and the Montreal Expos. Those 2 teams were to be eliminated for the 2002 season moving forward in Major League Baseball because those 2 teams were not making enough money, supposedly. And those 2 teams did not have the requisite resources, stadium, and whatnot to, kind of be considered a team that they wanted to keep here. So there were some other teams that they talked about doing this with. I know the Marlins were a big rumor, potentially, taking away the Marlins franchise, right after they had won a World Series, I believe in 1999, the Marlins won. So that would have been pretty crazy if that happened. But there was a lot of moving parts that were going on in regards to this. The Expos ended up becoming the Nationals, as we all know. The Twins still in Minnesota to this day. But the butterfly effect was real, man. If the Diamondbacks were moved from the National League West after the 2001 season to the American League West, I think that this would have been a best case scenario for the Arizona Diamondbacks, right? I mean, you can't take away the 2001 World Series because everything would have happened exactly the same. The Diamondbacks still would have been playing in the NL West. They still would have been playing in the National League. They still would have gone through entirely and won the National League, won the World Series in 2001. But then right directly after that happened, the league would have moved the Diamondbacks from a much more strenuous division that we like to call the NL West to a division that, Kevin, is a lot easier, frankly. They would have been placed in the division with the Anaheim Angels, the Oakland Athletics, and the Seattle Mariners. The Houston Astros, of course, were in the National League Central at the time. It was before their move that they made to the AL West, where they have since been the dominant team in the AL West since their move. They have multiple World Series out of it, multiple World Series appearances. I mean, it really feels like this American League West was incredibly open-ended. That there was a big opportunity for the Diamondbacks to join this division. The Rangers, another team that's been a little bit one of the better teams in this division. They obviously made the 2011 World Series where your Cardinals ended up beating them, Kevin. They beat the Diamondbacks in 2023. That doesn't happen, right, if the Diamondbacks are moved. But the D-backs would have been in a division with the Angels, the A's, and the Mariners. 3 teams that pretty much suck and aren't super good all the time and don't spend a lot of money. And man, we could have been the class of that division.
I mean, we were talking about this pre-show, like the branching effects of not being in the NL West and not having to deal with the pain of coming on post-game shows and being like, well, the Diamondbacks have won their 3rd straight. And yes, they are still X amount of games back from 2nd place in the division.
4th place, baby.
It's ridiculous, right? And I think that not being in the division you spoke to it as well. You would see so much branching effects of success for just being able to compete at a higher level. And I'm not saying that the Diamondbacks can't compete in the NL West, but if you lower the level of competition, you might have more division titles. You might have more free agent signings. You never know what the effects of simply winning can be. So yeah, this is a huge what if.
Absolutely, it's absolutely massive, and it's one that I learned much more about today. I think maybe I've heard about it in the past, but I did research into it today more than I ever have. And yeah, man, I think that you could be talking about a completely different franchise right now if the Arizona Diamondbacks were in the American League West, especially competing up against those teams, right? Because those teams are nothing special, nothing to write home about. Would the Diamondbacks have about 10 more division championships? I think you could certainly make the argument because you're not competing for wild cards solely like we are in this division with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So it also changes the 2023 run. What happens there? The Rangers are in a different division. Do the Diamondbacks still make it? You never know. But yeah, I just think that you still win that World Series and you get moved to an easier division. You have more chances in the postseason. You probably have a better chance of bringing home a second World Series title. An interesting one for sure. The fourth one on this list, and some people I think might want to put this one higher. What if Brandon Webb didn't have a career-ending injury? Brandon Webb was obviously one of the elite pitchers in Major League Baseball. Finished his career with an 87-62 record, a 3.27 ERA, was well on his way to being a first ballot Hall of Famer, won a Cy Young in 2006, finished second in Cy Young voting the next 2 years. So he was a top 2 Cy Young candidate for 3 years in a row, which is absolutely elite stuff. Only top of the top line starting pitchers get anywhere close to that. And then in 2009, he pitches one game. He has that elbow injury. He has a 13.5 ERA, and Brandon Webb is never the same. We all know Webby was an all-time pitcher in the making. We all know that he was destined probably to be the second greatest pitcher in franchise history, right after Randy Johnson, probably ahead of Curt Schilling, as crazy as that is to say. But his career was tragically cut short ultimately, and it was on his opening day start in 2009. He got surgery. He had a bunch of setbacks, rotator cuff surgery as well. And then he officially retired in 2013 after trying to work his way back for so many years. He tried to work his way back with the Rangers, of course, after the Diamondbacks let him go. Yeah, man, that was pretty brutal. Experiencing that was pretty brutal because that just goes to show the curse that this Diamondbacks organization has from a pitching standpoint of like, can we just get out of our own freaking way when it comes to, having pitching, like quality starting pitching, bullpen pitching? Brandon Webb was that guy. He was probably going to be the longest tenured Diamondbacks pitcher, was going to be a staple of this franchise for so long. He gets hurt at the ripe young age of in 2009 of how old was he in 2009?
Math can be hard. You got to do the birthday. Some guys are born like 89. That's a weird number to do math with. I'm bad with numbers.
30. He was 30. So he was in the prime of his career. He probably had 5 more prime years left of elite starting pitching, as most elite pitchers do. They go kind of well into their mid 30s. We lost out on a Hall of Fame career. We lost out on him being the ace of that 2011 team that was a true contender. We missed out on him being, there for these Paul Goldschmidt years towards the latter end of his career. I think that you could talk yourself into a lot of things changing if Brandon Webb was in fact an Arizona Diamondback and able to pitch at that elite level for the rest of his career. One of those ones as Diamondbacks fans that we'll never forget, surely. Going on to number 3, this one could be higher, I would argue, Kevin, but the only reason I'm not putting it higher is because the game would not have been over. So the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2001 in Game 7 of the World Series, we all know Mariano Rivera, the greatest closing pitcher in the history of the game, the most clutch bullpen arm in the history of Major League Baseball. He blew a save in Game 7 of the World Series. Not a save. He got the loss in Game 7 of the World Series, I believe, where Luis Gonzalez ultimately hit a bloop single into the shallow outfield, might have even landed on the infield dirt right above Derek Jeter's head. And the Diamondbacks end up winning the 2001 World Series on a walk-off hit, one of the greatest World Series in all of the sports history. What if the New York Yankees were playing to turn a double play instead of playing infield in? And now I know that's not the most realistic scenario in the world because it's the World Series. It's Game 7. You're not going to let that run score no matter what. You're not risking trying to get a double play and allowing that run to score. But in a normal circumstance, Luis Gonzalez, that hit would have been an easy out for Derek Jeter to have caught that. He didn't hit it hard. He didn't hit it far. It was a blooper. And if the infield wasn't in, that's an out. If the Yankees are trying to turn two there, being a little bit more aggressive, that's an out. And like I said, it wouldn't have ended the game. It would have been 2 outs in the game, and the Diamondbacks would have had a chance to put that winning run across the board with their next batter. But it just really does the change in the organization. You don't get that walk-off. You don't get that all-time moment. And maybe, just maybe, the Yankees end up winning that game in extra innings, and the Diamondbacks are 0-time World Series champions. I think that is a crazy look back, and you could really talk yourself into, does that change things for the Arizona Diamondbacks in that 2001 World Series? Because that wasn't a hard hit ball. That wasn't a conventional hit, but you did get a little bit lucky just kind of getting jammed on that one and forcing it over Derek Jeter's head there. Moving on to the number 2 what if in Arizona Diamondbacks history, and this one is a positive one, guys, I promise, because we've been doing a lot of doomsday disaster kind of what if scenarios here as Diamondbacks fans. What if Randy Johnson was never an Arizona Diamondback? What if he didn't sign with the team? The trickle down effect is real. Randy Johnson signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks in the 1999 offseason. He was the most coveted free agent on the market. Of course, he was a Hall of Famer in the making. 6'10" lefty, throws absolute gas. Every team wanted a piece of Randy Johnson. There were some teams that were rumored to be even more in on Randy Johnson, Kevin. But he took a chance on the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it worked out, no doubt, in the long run. One of those teams, Kevin, that was supposedly interested in bringing Randy Johnson into their organization, drum roll please, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now,
Boo.
How freaking gross would that have been? Supposedly there was a short list of teams that were really interested in bringing Randy in. The Rangers was one of them. The Angels was another. The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks were the other two. He ends up signing with the Diamondbacks because Jerry Colangelo and co convinced Randy Johnson and his agents that signing with Arizona was the right move because the Diamondbacks were going to be competing at a high level for World Series championships in the coming future. Randy Johnson, they were an expansion franchise. They were just 1 year off of expansion. He had no reason to believe that was the actual truth, but it was. And it ended up being a damn fact, and in large part because Randy Johnson was on that team. It never happens without Randy Johnson. That 01 World Series obviously does not happen without co-World Series MVP Randy Johnson, but it was great work by Jerry Colangelo to convince the left-hander to sign with the Arizona Diamondbacks, despite being a new franchise, despite being a franchise that didn't have a lot in the way of competitiveness at that point in its organization, and despite a lot of other teams being interested in bringing in the Hall of Fame lefty, as is. Apparently, the Astros offered 3 years, $33 million as well. The Angels ended up signing Mo Vaughn to $80 million for 6 years instead of giving Randy Johnson that contract. But Randy Johnson took a chance on this organization, and we will forever thank him for it. Kevin, the final what if in Arizona Diamondbacks history. It's pretty simple. And you guys have seen, I'm sure, the content that we've already done on it. If you haven't, check it out on our PHNX Sports YouTube channel, as well as our PHNX Sports Twitter page, PHNX_sports. What if Corey Seager didn't homer off of Paul Sewald in Game 1 of the 2023 World Series? This is one that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life, my guys and gals. Corey Seager goes in the ninth inning. Paul Sewald, he was money all postseason. He was money second half of the Arizona Diamondbacks year in 2023. Paul Sewald goes up there, gives up a 2-run bomb to Corey Seager, where I'm pretty sure that ball is still in the air. I'm pretty sure Corey Seager has not stopped yelling since he hit that, Kevin. I don't know if you remember that and it scarred you as much as it scarred me, but Corey Seager was screaming mid-contact with that pitch. I'm not even playing. Go back and watch the replay. If you go back and watch it, Corey Seager is mid-swing. He makes contact, and as he's finishing his swing, he knows it's over the fence. Probably the fastest, no doubt, someone I've ever seen pimp a no-doubter in the history of baseball. But Corey Seager goes on to tie that game. Adolis Garcia, who should be probably popped for steroids, if you ask me, was the one that hit the walk-off in that game 1. And the Diamondbacks go on to win game 2 by a score of, I believe, 10-1. D-backs Rangers game 2, 2023. The Diamondbacks go on to win that next game by a score of 9-1, not 10-1, but in blowout fashion, the Diamondbacks win that one. If the Diamondbacks had won that game 1, they go up 2-0 in that World Series in 2023. They then have to just take one of 2 games in Arizona coming back home to go up 3-1 in the World Series, where then they would have to just win one of the final 3 games in order to win the whole damn thing. That one's going to hurt us forever. That one's going to stick with me for the rest of my life. I know for a fact, Kevin. And I know that if Corey Seager did not hit that home run, I feel pretty comfortable in saying that the Diamondbacks are 2-time World Series champions. And we are talking about a completely different franchise right now. In particular, the toxicity around this franchise for having disappointing seasons the last 2 years is wildly different, right? Because if you win the World Series, much more grace is being given to this team. People are not as angry. People don't have as much, I would say, expectations of needing to make the playoffs, because I think that made us feel like, hey, we are contenders, but we haven't gotten the job done. Whereas if you do get the job done, you're probably just way more positive, way more happy-go-lucky in terms of missing the playoffs by a game last year. It doesn't hurt as bad. Everything changes if the Diamondbacks win that World Series, and it all starts with Corey Seager hitting that no-doubt home run in game 1. That's our top 10 what-ifs in Arizona Diamondbacks history. Just rounding out this top 5 here, of course, I started it off with what if the Arizona Diamondbacks were moved from the NL West to the AL West after the 2001 season, thus putting them in an easier division with the Angels, Mariners, and Athletics instead of the NL West that we are a part of now, where we have to deal with those godforsaken Dodgers. Number 4, what if Brandon Webb never had career-ending injury in that 2009 season? Would we be talking about a completely different franchise outlook right now? What else could we have won? What would Brandon Webb be thought of all time in the history books? What if the infield wasn't in 2001 World Series Game 7, where Luis Gonzalez blooped it over Derek Jeter's head? As I said, I know that situation isn't really a one where the Yankees would be playing back because, of course, they're going to be trying to stop that run from coming in at home. But Luis Gonzalez did not make good contact on that baseball, but it will always be remembered as the hit that won the Diamondbacks the World Series. Number 2, I should say, what if Randy Johnson signed with a team that wasn't the Diamondbacks in the 1999 offseason? Could he have been a Los Angeles Dodger? The grossest situation I think I could ever think of in my life. And number 1, what if Corey Seager didn't hit that home run in Game 1 of the 2023 World Series? What do you think we missed? What are the biggest what ifs in Arizona Diamondbacks history? Drop it in the comments below. Tell me what a big idiot I am for missing certain ones. That's going to do it for us today, except for we do have another round of ads to talk about here on the PHNX D-backs show, so stay tuned for more. Let's talk about our friends at Shady Rays. Here's the thing about Shady Rays. Shady Rays has the ultimate lost and broken replacement policy in all of eyewear. If you guys lose or break your sunglasses, you are going to be able to hit up their support team and get sent a brand new pair, whether it's hikes, concerts, being on a boat, being at the beach, you name it, man. Shady Rays is the ultimate sunglass company. They have premium polarized shades, and you can get 35% off with our promo code of PHNX right now. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you our exclusive offer of 35% off polarized sunglasses with promo code PHNX. Another company that we want to tell you about is our friends at Branded Bills. Branded Bills is the premium headwear here in the state of Arizona, but also just nationwide. I saw people wearing Branded Bills out in Texas. I saw it out in South Carolina when I was there in the winter. Branded Bills is taking over, guys, and we got a promo code for you, BBPHNX, for 15% off your first purchase with Branded Bills at brandedbills.com. The ultimate, snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or t-shirts, Branded Bills, they got you covered with performance and style on all of those options. BBPHNX gets you 15% off at brandedbills.com. Use our promo code of BBPHNX. Like I said, that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you for rocking with us on our what ifs. Another what if to think of and chew on that I wanted to put on here, but I guess higher ups told me I wasn't allowed to. What if Shohei Ohtani was rightfully put in prison at post his allegations of gambling? Could change everything. Really, really could. That would have been my number one, but you guys let us know what ifs we missed here on the PHNX D-Backs show. Follow me at Damon Dog at CWG. On the end of that, follow our show at PHNX_D-Backs and follow my guy Kevin at Kevo Posts. That's KEVOPOSTS. Thank you so much for rocking with us today. The greatest what ifs, the biggest what ifs in Arizona Diamondbacks history. There's your top 10. We'll catch you next time on the PHNX D-Backs show. But remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you stop hitting our players on the hands, even in the All-Star game.
We all silly like the mayor.